Hello, everyone, and welcome again with me today. My name is Greatman Ayilara. Today, I will be settling you into a different dimension of knowledge and understanding of what you might have been suffering from and you are very well unaware of. This is not a war against Christianity or Islam. This is not even a war against what you hold dearly. This is a war against ignorance and then the humanization of a black person. Now, today we will talk about that very sentence, the knowledge of good and evil. The knowledge of good and evil. As a little child, while we were growing up, we were like a formatted USB flash drive, a memory stick without data in it. Our job when we came into this particular plane of the universe is to learn how they behave here, how they talk here, how they live here, how to be human. From age 0 to like age 5 or 6, we were taking in data. We couldn't make our own decision because we knew nothing about what is going on here. We were not Christians, we were not Muslims, we were not agnostic, we were not this or that, we were not even atheists, we were just neutral, trying to get information, extract how these people behave. So you see a little child, just look sometimes. They ask questions to the point of you saying, come, I'm tired of what you're asking me. Because a child is so empty, and so the emptiness bring about curiosity. The curiosity bring about the filling in the gap of the things that they are ignorant of. So what they do is to keep asking you, mommy, why this, daddy, why this, why is this color this? And you see that there is something about children when they go to school and they are being taught about color. Sometimes they find it so hard to actually believe that this is this color, that is this color, because they want to ask, why do you call black black or white white? But unfortunately, we live in an environment or a certain continent whereby they tell you, this is ye and amen, just take it like that, don't ask me questions and all that. This was how our parents raised us up at home, to believe that elders are always right, and so whatever mommy says is finer, whatever daddy says is finer, even though they might be right in their own circumference, but then not giving the children the ability to ask questions, query, or also bring about their own hypothesis to the table, affect the children a lot of times, such that when the children get to school, even when they don't understand what the teacher is telling them, and the teacher is saying, understood, they say yes. They understand, whereas they understand nothing. That's why a lot of African folks only go to school to get certified, to get certificate, not to get educated. A lot of African goes to school. Most of our people, Nigerians, Africans, South African, whatever it is that you are, African, a black child, go to school to learn Western education because of certification or certificate, not because they want to get educated. That's why out of 1 million black child that is educated, you will hardly find 5 of them who are bringing in new invention from the things they got because they went to go and cram and to go and hear what the teacher had to say and just to read to pass. And some of them even cram these things. And so at that very, very, very early age and very volatile state of our lives, we were tampered with. We were tampered with the instrument of fear, religion, and all there is to be tampered with mankind. Because you as a person, you are way more powerful than what you think. Way more, you are larger than life. You are simply God. Let me just put it that way. I don't want to mind word today. You simply are God. You have so much radiation, so much frequency, so much vibration, so much magnetic attraction and instrument inside of you that whatever it is that you say and wish for, you can do. Take a look at the world you live in right now. You see that there is nothing in this world that was made or There is no improvement that was made in this world with the help of God. Mankind made all these things. It may look so rebellious and so hard for you to understand, but then I'll keep telling you that you are God. Yes, you are God. You have the ability to create, recreate, and uncreate. You also have the ability to destroy. At the state of your childhood, while you are learning so many things, while some people are learning how to become their reality, divine reality, some are learning how to become just a mere mortal. And we were so shanked into the point of being inadequate, always looking outside of us for the things we want to happen inside of us. We were trained up to be very insufficient. We were trained up to be disabled. We were trained up to always look for someone to take charge or take responsibility for the things that we want in our lives. So a little child is here with you, looking for data on how to live his or her life, doesn't know how people run their lives in this place. A little child doesn't even know that people walk on their two legs. Because they saw you walking on your two legs, they also aspire to walk on their two legs. If they saw you crawling with your hand and your leg, they will aspire only to crawl with their hand and their legs. So because they saw you eating rice, they started looking forward to eat rice. They saw you drinking Coca-Cola, they look forward to that also. And mankind also learned how to react to situation, because when they saw you drinking Coke, they saw your reaction, that it was pleasant. So whenever they drink Coke, they react pleasantly. So they train their own brain, this formatted blank brain, to react positively to the taste of Coca-Cola. While they saw you taking bitter leaf and reacting negatively, so they train your brain to also react the same way. If the first time they saw you taking bitter leaf, you had reacted pleasantly, every child that you train up will react pleasantly to the taste of bitter leaf. Everything you are, you own, you think about, you think is you, is a learned behavior. And if you learn it, you can unlearn it. Unfortunately, most times, the very first thing we learned on how to make decisions in life is fear. Only for the wise I am sent. You would really wonder why the most predominant religion in the world started their history or put their foundation on the same thing. Talking about Islam and Christianity. Those two predominant religions in the world, they have the same root. As a matter of fact, theologically speaking, 99% of Islam is based on Judaism. 99% of Islam theology is based on Judaism. Two of them, both Christian and Islam, they both trace their root back to Abraham or Ibrahim. And so, in order to solidify the reason why you must serve their God, they couldn't take their foundation from different angles. It's like the case of the pastors or the imams that are taking you for granted, and the case of the reformers that are trying to set you free. I once told someone that it's like a case of Nigerians and PDP or APC. So it is those who decamped from this party that goes into this party. Those who left this party also go into this party. The same people, and they have the same target audience, which are the masses. So either you are listening to your religious leader by giving them money, or you are listening to the reformers by helping them trend, giving them influence. You are working for the same master. you are still a slave of the same master. So what they cannot take from you in church building or mosque building, they pay their social media influencers to raise a counter opinion against what they do in church, so that you will keep looking at them. So while you are trying to say, I don't want to be a slave of my papa in the Lord, you automatically become the slave of your papa on the net. So I told people I needed to pull out of all this nonsense and rubbish thing, because I saw that none of them have the interest of an average African person or Nigerian at heart. Because the people whom you are running to save you from your papa are well sponsored by your papa. So either you like it or not, you are still bowing to the person that you ran away from. But that's not the bone of contention for today. We're talking about where religion took their basis from, right? Thank you. So Islam and Christianity started with how God, G-O-D, created the heavens, created the earth. And He created mankind. Assuming you are a little child now who knew nothing about all of this, you are learning it for the first time. Just follow me like someone who do not have a choice. Because you don't have a better experience, right, as a child. You don't know how to run things here. You don't know what to believe, how to behave, right? So you are learning, how should I behave? How should I live my life? Now follow me with the art of a little child now. So as a little child, you were told that there is one particular being called God who created the heavens and the earth. And of a sudden, you now ask, who created the God that created the heavens and the earth? They told you is an unquestionable God. Number one, are we holding it? They say it is an unquestionable God. So you'll be wondering, so if he's unquestionable, why are you telling me about him? Because whatever is unquestionable does not promote intelligence. And all these children were born with their intellect intact, right? Ability to be curious and also to ask questions. So when you tell them God created the heavens and the earth, and you ask who created the God, they say unquestionable God, unfathomable God, don't figure that out. And as a little child, you try to trace it back that, let me figure this out in my mind, and you become blank. Give you a prior explanation, and you had no supporting data. So you just become blank because they have told you it cannot be traced. Number one, defeat that you have encountered in your life. You are still within the age of 1 to 5 now. So one day they said, God lives in heaven. So you ask, if God is living in heaven, but God created the heavens and the earth in the beginning, where was He staying before He created the heavens that is now living? They now say to you that, don't be rebellious. The ways of God are unfathomable. You're not wondering what is happening. You said in the beginning, like you are starting everything. Now I am void, I am null, I have nothing in my head. You said in the beginning He created the heavens and the earth. Where is God? You couldn't answer who made God, who created God, if He created things. But now I'm asking, where is God? Where does He stay? You said He stays in the heaven. And I'm asking you right now that if in the beginning, when the whole thing started, let's start from the beginning, He created the heavens and the earth. Where was He staying before He created that heavens and the earth? So they say His ways are mysterious ways. The second defeat of a child. And then you wonder how this child learned how to lie. And you can't figure it out. So you say it's a human nature. No, you taught them how to lie. You taught them how to deny the obvious only because you do not know better. And instead of you to agree that I don't know, you use fear and threat to quiet them. Now this God started doing so many wonderful things. And they gave you the book of Genesis. The version of it is in the Korean also. And the book of Genesis wanted to help you by telling you that it is not the heaven that God created. It is the heavens. There is a difference between heavens and heaven. While heaven is a state of mind, heavens are firmaments, the skies, the very many atmosphere, hemisphere, stratosphere, all those. Because on the sky, there is another sky, the cloud is unlimited. And that Genesis chapter 1 also told you that God called the heavens the firmament, which is all this cloud. So definitely you have found out for yourself now that God does not live in any heaven. And this God is not a particular being that should be bowed down to, worshipped and all that. Because you are beginning to find out things for yourself. So you felt not to ask questions again. Let me just follow them. So in your Sunday school or at home during morning devotion, they now said today we're going to do our morning devotion. Open your Bible to the book of Genesis chapter 2. You now open to the book of Genesis chapter 2. And you started reading that. So the creation of the heavens and the earth and everything in them was completed. On the seventh day, God has finished his work of creation, so he rested from all his work. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy. The seventh day, that's a Sunday, right? A Sunday. Have I told you before that holy is the same thing as hallow, and hallow simply means sun. Alright, so you might have been worshiping sun as your God all this while. Exactly the reason why you need to go to church on Sunday, and it looks like a must for you. Sun God worshipped on Sunday. And you began to read so downward. How God placed the man in the garden where he has created, saying so many beautiful things. And suddenly, you hit on verse 15 of Genesis chapter 2. And said, the Lord placed the man in the garden Eden to tend and watch over it. And the Lord God warned him. Now, warning is two-way strong word for a little child. Warning is like seeing a stopping sign all of a sudden. Ooh, you've been speeding. Shh, just match your brake there. Don't feel too comfortable with this God. What's the problem? Now remember, this child is between the age of 1 and 5. Your learning age. Your age the age whereby you can be hypnotized easily. Now the child has been coming on a very deep speed. And all of a sudden is getting comfortable with this kind of God, very awesome, lovely, creative and all that, very administrative skill is very prime and all that. And suddenly they said, and God warned the man. Warning is a very strong message to have sent to a little child. Warning is like caution, it's like danger sign, it's like everything that has to do with listen now, don't mess with this. What was the warning? He said, you may freely eat the fruit of every tree in the garden. 17 says, except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Said, if you eat its fruit, you are sure to die. The very first time you are threatened with death is from the God that said, give you life. Now, between the age of 1 to 5, the child is already enjoying jollof rice, Coca-Cola, and the rest of them. And they know if you die, you won't have access to this. So the best way to first capture your mind, make you a permanent slave in a temporary world, is to threaten you with death. A sound and a very huge warning. Warn you now. You try this with me, you die. And the child began to live in fear of the same God that he was finding so fanciful before. Now it is the tree of good and of evil that the same God is warning you against. How do I know how to behave well? How exactly will I know what is right or wrong to do if I cannot explore them and learn from them? Why is God telling me that having given me a free will, a mind of a child, not a slave, I cannot now make use of this very awesome gift that he has given to me? Is God trying to turn me into a zombie? Then, the moment you accept that, religion wins over you for the rest days of your life. If you are a very intelligent person and you are ready to read meanings to things like myself, you will purely see in that place that the fear you have in God was put in you as a child using that particular verse alone. And that fear can hold grip on you because they use death to threaten you. So you look at what you have exposed your children to. What you simply have told your child is that the Lord created you like an animal. He can kill you whenever he wills, and you can't do anything without him doing it for you. So you blame an adult for not wanting to take responsibility, but you did not blame yourself for training the adult up as a child who do not have the right to choose between evil and good. When you raise a zombie, you will live with one. And the funniest thing is that you will be infected by their stupidity. So the very God that the foundation of both Islam and Christianity was founded upon is a God that cannot be queried, that cannot be questioned, that threatens you with death and tells you that you don't have to have your own mind. Common sense must be far away from you. You cannot choose what you want in life. I have to be the one who do this thing for you. Yet you live in a world where God does not live. Human being lives here. So how do you make up your mind? You're serving a God who's threatening you about the knowledge of good and evil. And then they printed so many stories and scenarios after that particular Genesis chapter 2 verse 16 and 17. How Adam needed to now suffer so greatly for tasting out of the tree of good and evil. So I ask, when this God knows, they said he's the one who knows the end from beginning. I want you to see how this Bible story does not tally. I will show you several other things later. If he's the one who knows the end from beginning, why did he plant a tree knowing fully well that these people will eventually eat it? All for him to get to Genesis chapter 3 and start complaining, or Genesis chapter 6 and start complaining that he regretted creating man. That seems like a very confused God to me. This is the God you have been serving. This is the God you have been serving. A God you claim knows the end from the very beginning, chose to create his own failure from the very beginning, and started regretting, started lamenting. This is the God you bow your head to. Now, I don't serve this particular God. I believe in the spirit of life. And the spirit of life is not dumb like the God of the Christians and the God of the Muslims. Knowing that these people will mess up, why do you even have to now set your own creature up? It's like creating a phone and introducing virus into it. Because I begin to wonder. You knew this mankind will surely taste of this fruit. Why did you plant the fruit in first instance? Why did you plant the fruit, the tree, and now give them warning again, knowing that they will still mess up? We're talking about that God. Because we shouldn't be surprised about the temperament of this God of the Christians and that God of the Muslims. Because it's the same one that said he's hardening the heart of Pharaoh so that he can destroy him. How do you call yourself a just and righteous God and using someone as a lab experiment rat. You cast a spell on him and expect him to now have control over his life. Remember now, you are still a child. You are between the age of 1 to 5, and you are getting confused. You want to ask questions. You want to query. But they have told you that the knowledge of tree, or the knowledge of good and evil is a tree. Sometimes they distract you and say it's an apple. Sometimes they say it's sex. Sometimes they painted a lot of things for you to believe around that bad. But they refuse to tell you that the very knowledge of the knowledge of good and evil they are telling you not to eat from is your brain and your common sense. See what they are trying to tell you? Don't use your brain so that we can continue to control you. Simply put, God does not want you to use your brain. God hates smart creatures. God hates smart people. God hates those who are willing to create the kind of life they want for themselves. God hates it when you know your left from your right. God hates it when you can explore evil and good and choose the one you want to. God hates it when you try to be God. So when you know the knowledge of good and evil, you are become God. So they tell you that God don't want you to become God. And they also told you came out of the Spirit of God. So how does the Spirit of God not become God? So they know that when you become God, religion cannot win over you. And so they formed God through religion and gave it to you to eat. Don't query you. Don't try it. Remember what God did to Adam and Eve when they tried to question him. So I'm your father in the Lord now. Whatever I say, just go ahead and do it. There's something called typology. Typology. That was a single mechanism used to write the whole story and bring about that fiction character called Jesus in the Bible. Typology is when you use the event of the past to formulate the experience of the present. And it's so beautiful that they mastered this art of typology, that the same way God told Adam and Eve that don't try me, anything I say, do it, else I will finish you. It's the same way, exactly the same way. Now we call that kind of a thing antitype. The real type now is when Jesus got to the wedding at Canaan. Wedding at Canaan or Cain, and the mother said, everything he tells you to do, just do it. Parallel typology. Typology. That was the beginning of making Jesus Christ be a God. Because when they wanted to start Genesis for you, they told you that God said, don't bother to query me, and I am warning you right now, you don't do what I didn't tell you to do. Don't mess with me. The knowledge of good and evil, don't try to know it. You do exactly what I tell you to do. Don't use your brain. Don't use your common sense. You get it? So when they want to start the old propaganda again, they have to start with a Jesus who is in one wedding of Cain or Canaan, and the mother is saying, people, don't query him. Whatever he tells you to do, just do it. That's why I said the Bible is not good for you. The Bible, the Quran, only train up a zombie kind of human being. You cannot be wise. If this Bible is your manual for living. And that's why they make it compulsory for you that you must read it every single day. The more you read it, the more dumb you become. And when you try to query it, they say you are Antichrist. When the things that doesn't make sense in it begin to give you trouble, your pastor tell you that, can you interpret the Bible with physical eye? You don't interpret the Bible with physical eye. You use the spiritual mind to kill me. What is spiritual about what I have read this thing? Can you give me explanation of what? Must you take me into the spirit? Am I reading it from the spiritual realm? The Bible I read in my physical eyes. Like you are telling me to read it, to use physics. And you know the Bible, Quran, they are so subjective. Anybody can interpret them to what they want. They are like variables. They are not constant. They are not constant. They are not constant. So a very possibility of your little child becoming great in life, being able to think and reason outside the box, you single-handedly killed it by introducing them to this particular God who said, "Don't, I am warning you, don't even dare." Don't even dare. Don't even dare. So the knowledge of good and evil is the ability of mankind to live freely, to choose what they want, to create their own life, and engage their common sense. Unfortunately, this knowledge of good and evil, the ability to explore all that there is to explore, has been taken away from you because the very basis of religion is warning you never to be truly human and never to be truly divine. Edward is saying, but bro, in reality, we cannot all create the kind of life we want. There is obviously a consciousness in charge of all happenings. I didn't quite get that. Please, if you can rephrase it for me, it will be good. Thank you. Now, the God upon which this religion was formed was painted in such a way that his power and potency only lies in the instrument of fear. In the instrument of fear and threat. To buttress that, let's begin now to compare scriptures with scriptures. First, go to Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 16. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 16. It says, "You must not test the Lord your God as you did when you complained in Massa." The threat continue. So whenever Moses gives you a law to follow, and he knows that this thing is not workable, to make you follow it, he used the instrument of fear by telling you, don't test God. Don't test. Don't try it. Don't bring your common sense into this. You can't be human. We want you to be animals. We will put you in cage and you dare not bark. We determine when you eat. We determine what you wear. We determine who you marry. We determine where you go. In fact, to sleep with your wife, religion had to determine it also. And when you try to now say, I'm human now, I can make up my mind, they say, you are testing God. You are testing God. And whoever tests God, God will kill them. As if death will not eventually kill people at the end of the day. So don't test God. Don't test God. Meanwhile, he said something before. Said, I have laid before you life and death. You know, it was this same Moses that said it. I have laid before you life and death. But I beseech you to do what? To choose life. Now, in the same book of Deuteronomy, where you are saying people should not even dare to try God, Deuteronomy 30 verse 19, you are now giving them free will again. Which means that mankind cannot do without their free will. That the free will is the very basis why they call us humans. If we don't have free will, we will not be different from the animals. But the very God we say loved us specially, like us specially, care for us specially, is the very one who is taking our free will away, telling us not to dare him, else we are done. The contradiction of the Bible will further tell you how you must not try to introduce your children to this thing. Isaiah chapter 1 verse 18. Isaiah chapter 1 verse 18. If there's any part of the Bible that is useful for these children, is the book of Proverbs. And when you trace the book of Proverbs, you find it in Egypt. Pure for all, pure for everyone. Everything you need for life is inside the book of Proverbs. All those extra, they will mess your life up. Isaiah chapter 1 verse 18. So Edward is saying we are who we are, not because we are smarter than anyone, but because that consciousness put us here to play a part in existence. Are you talking about the spirit of life? Now, if you talk about the spirit of life, surely we did not create ourselves, right? I didn't know how this thing came into being. I don't know who made this place. I don't know who created the tree. I don't know who created me also. So there must be a spirit responsible. I refuse to call it a god or a being. I call it a spirit responsible, because the spirit of a thing is what makes it come alive. If the spirit of a tree leaves it, it will dry up. If the spirit of an animal leaves it, it will dry up. If the spirit of mankind leaves them, they will also dry up. That's why they say we gave up the ghost. What does ghost mean? Ghost means spirit. So there is spirit of life responsible for all of these things. But this spirit of life, the one responsible for the tree, for the plant, for the animals, for human being, is not different from one another. So if you don't think that the animals will face judgment day, why do you think you will face judgment day when you are more evil than them? If you don't think the animals are going to hell or going to heaven, why do you think you are going to hell or heaven when you were created by the same spirit, or the same spirit is responsible for all of you? Thank you very much, Edward. Spirit of life within humanity. Now, talking about what the spirit of life wants everybody to take part of, it is simple. The essence of the spirit of life is so that mankind, the essence of the creation of mankind is so that mankind can take part in humanity. Simple. Don't think too much of yourself. The problem of mankind starts with thinking too highly of themselves. And because we keep thinking too highly of ourselves, we keep getting ourselves involved in so many catastrophic situations and circumstances in life. It is the thought of too much of yourself that gave you the concept of hell. The thought of too much of yourself gave you the concept of heaven. The concept of too much of yourself gave you the concept of judgment day. It even gave you the concept of afterlife. But look at the animals. Ordinary insect, if there are no insects in this planet, every one of us will die. The insect, in that wise, in relation to our existence, is more important than human being. If there are no bees, no insect in this world in the next 10 years, the whole tree will dry up. No tree will be planted. We will die because there will not be oxygen and they will not be taking in our carbon dioxide. Can you see the ecological system? If they are missing. But if mankind is missing, the whole world will be like paradise because everything will grow at its own pace. The animals that doesn't live in the tree knows that it has to be on the ground. The animals that is not aquatic animal will never go and encroach into aquatic being. It is you human being that keep prognosing, entering, go on that is evil. And you meet so many untimely death. Sprout up so many pathogens and everything is messed up. I hope you get what I'm trying to say now. So that spirit of life now did not create you to do something extraordinary or special. It created you to take part in humanity. Just like it created the animals to take part in animal kingdom. The spirit of life will never create a tree to take part in the world of the animals. While the tree is growing, being a tree, the tree was not growing to serve you as man. The tree was not growing to serve animals as animals. The tree was growing to be tree and to be useful as a tree. It is the excess of its usefulness that make it useful for you, for the animals also. If only mankind can be human enough, we will change our world. Thank you. Edward is saying he refers to the spirit of life as consciousness, existence, and what some call God. Yeah. I'd rather just limit it to the spirit of life, because when you begin to put God in it, you now begin to categorize it by gender. He, she, it, whatever it is, that's messy. And when you categorize it as God, you will now begin to put a destination for it. You know, you will put it in heaven. But if it is spirit, they live everywhere, in everything. And the way it treats the animals is not special than the way it treats you. Now, it's not dependent on you. What have you learned that tells you what to do? Surely so many mountain climbers, they were inspired to start climbing mountain because of just one singular experience. not because they were created for climbing mountain. Experience changes the patterns of human life. And so many times, what we call our dream, our passion, are problems that we have identified and willing and passionately willing to solve. The problems we have identified. If you are living in Nigeria, the kind of problem you identify to solve might be between hunger and employment. If you are living in diaspora, in a better country than Nigeria, the kind of problem you'll be willing to solve will be technological problem. So mankind are creature of learned behavior. We only see what needs to be done, and some of them that will say they fulfill destiny or purpose because they became popular is because they identify a particular problem and chose to solve it passionately, so much so that whenever they need solution to it, these are the people we go to. You get the point? So you can be passionate about obviously everything. I'm passionately talking to you right now. When I was growing up, I didn't know that I was going to be someone who is going to be speaking because I'm an introvert. But when I identify the problem and no one is solving it, I chose to step up for it. And whatever is needed is already in my DNA. So tomorrow, I might stop talking to people. I might start just fellowshipping with those who have gotten the message enough. It depends on the problem at hand. So we are creature of learned behavior. We see and identify what needs to be done. Now, Isaiah chapter 1 verse 18 says something. Remember, this God doesn't want you to query it. This God is saying, I have warned you. When you taste of the tree of evil and good, when you try to explore yourself, it's like testing me, you are disobeying me, you will die. Now Isaiah 1 verse 18 says, come now, let's settle this. Another version says, come now, let us reason together. How does a person who cannot differentiate between evil and good be able to reason? Now remember, the God that was painted for you when you began religion was a God you cannot query, the one you cannot reason with, the one you cannot ask questions, the one you cannot really figure things out with. But suddenly this God suddenly said, come, let us reason together. You now begin to wonder, what is happening? Why is this God confused? Are there so many gods in the Bible? Why is he saying don't query me at first? Why is it don't test me? Testing means you have to reason things out, right? But in the beginning, this God said, the knowledge of good and evil does not belong to you. You cannot afford it. Whatever I say to you, just do it. Don't try to, don't sample it. But suddenly, this God in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 16 says that, don't test me. Now, Isaiah chapter 1, verse 18 is saying that, test me also. Let us reason together. You will now begin to wonder, what's happening? But that's not all. That's not all. Let's check Matthew chapter 3, verse 10. Matthew 3, verse 10. It says something also about ability of you to test mankind. Matthew 3, verse 10 says that, no, I think I got that one wrong. It's not Matthew 3, sorry, Malachi 3, verse 10. Malachi 3 verse 10, that one was even very explicit and very well spelled out. Now, this God want to collect money from you now. This God want to collect money from you now. And he will give you permission to test him. So also to get money from you. Malachi chapter 3 verse 10 says that, bring all the tithe to my storehouse so that there will be enough food in my temple. If you do it, says the Lord, the army of hosts, I will open the windows of heaven for you. I will pour out the blessing so great that you won't have enough room to take it in. He said, try this. Put me to what? Put me to test. Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 16 said, do not test the Lord your God. But this one is saying, only test him. It's paper test. Since your money is involved now, please come and test God. Since your money is involved, you have the right. You are now a stakeholder in heaven. You can test God since your money is involved. But before, your money was not involved, you have no right to test God. Remember Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 16 we read, right? It said, do not try to test God. Genesis chapter 1 verse 17 says that chapter 2 verse 17 says that the knowledge of good and evil is not for you. You can't reason for yourself. Don't even come and give me a claim. Isaiah chapter 1 verse 18 says that, come, let us reason together. This God is confusing you. Now we are in Malachi chapter 3 verse 10. He said, put me to test again. He said, put me to test. So you'll be wondering, why is so much contradiction in this one scripture? 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 21. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 21. There are a lot of people that are still fighting for this Bible as their manual for living, and you begin to wonder, are you guys okay with this life of slavery? 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 21 says that, but test everything that is said. Hold on. Now, if someone is claiming that I am a representative of God, or God is speaking to me, or even you are hearing a voice by yourself, you have the right to query, come, who they follow me on? Who is talking? But then if you come by the knowledge of Genesis chapter 2 verse 17, you don't have the right to even say, just follow. It's a ladder. Everybody follow the ladder to wherever it's going to. Don't even bother to query. Follow the ladder to wherever. Don't even bother to query. Now there's a part in the book of 1 John chapter 4. 1 John chapter 4 now. As I begin to round up, I believe you are making your own extraction from it. 1 John chapter 4 now. 1 John chapter 4 is also still reiterating to you that you are dealing with a confused book here. 1 John chapter 4 verse 1 says, Dear friends, do not believe everyone who claims to speak by their what? By the Spirit. Whatever spirit it is at all. Said, do not believe everyone that claims to speak by the Spirit. You must test. You must. It's a matter of must here. You must test to see if the Spirit they have comes from who? Comes from God. So either it is the Spirit of God or that of the other guy, it is still subjected to test. It is still subjected to test. But unfortunately, remember that you are learning these ones now. They are coming into clearer view now at the age of about 18 upward. But look at the basis and the foundation of your life when you were just 1 to 5. They have tampered with you so much that everything that looks spiritual is yea and amen from other people. Remember the teaching I did on what you need to do when men say God said. What you need to do when men say God said. So at the stage of your hypnotization, at the stage of hypnosis, which is the age of 1 to 5 or 1 to 7, so to say, when you are gathering data, when all you know about life is all you are told, you have been tampered with, you have been threatened with death, you have been told that you can't make up your mind, you have been told that whatever it has to do with the spirit, only some people have, or only God have, and you can't query, you can't do this, you can't do that. Then you have learned these things so much that they got into your subconscious. So when you are an adult, you behave like a slave, even when you have access to light and have access to freedom. So I say the same word called adulterated, the same few letters that started adulteration is the same few letters that started adulthood. It shows that you have been adulterated. You are in the hood and the stage of adulteration. So simply what I want to tell you right now is not to forcefully pick you out of wherever you are or tell you how to live your life. What I'm saying is that, are you free or you are a slave? If you are a slave, can you make up your own mind? Are you living by that word, don't try me, don't test God? Or you are actually pulling that God to the round table to ask, what do you mean? What is happening? What is going on? And if you find yourself in a certain setting where one person is the one who tells you what to do at all time, I think it's high time you begin to now move away, because that was not the intention of your existence, to live so that others can rule you. And that's basically what both the Bible and Quran are trying to make you become today, by making you become object of slavery. You live like an animal because the book said don't. Live like human. You live in hatred to your fellow mankind because the book gave you description of those you must kill, those you must hate, those you cannot coexist with. You put people into hell or heaven because the book said those who do this are going to this, those who do this are going to that. You can't even dress with your common sense because the book said you must be this and that. You know the time to eat. Some say Ramadan, some say Lenten, some say 100 days and all that. You cannot even determine when to eat. Sometimes you can't even determine your own diet. The book tells you not to eat this particular animal, not to eat this, not to eat that, and all of those things. Sometimes some go into extreme by telling the book, their own book, telling them not to take blood transfusion and all of those things. The beginning and the ending of human's destruction is lying in both the Bible and the Quran. And until you begin to now reason with your head, that very knowledge of good and evil that their God said do not try to explore, until you begin to explore it, to be able to make up your mind, to be able to live freely and live a life of liberal, you will not be able to become truly human and truly divine. So I say to you today, if you have been tampered with and damaged a lot, I'm saying to you, give your children a chance. Let them be able to think outside the box than you are. And if you ask you a question, if they ask you questions you cannot provide answers to, simply tell them to go and make researches and share their findings with you. Don't threaten them with death. Don't try to tell a child that steals from the pot that all liars and don't go into hell. No. Make them know the consequences of stealing here in this life. Whenever they want to steal again, they remember what they had to go through, either by denial or by punishment. They will not. But when you keep telling them they will receive their reward in heaven or in hell, they will destroy so many lives even before they also die. So this is a beseeching and a plead that I'm making to you today. You have been cheated, do not cheat your children. You have been messed with, do not mess with your children. If there's any book in that Bible you can train your children with, please let it be the book of Proverbs. There's a lot your child can learn from it. One Proverbs can run their life for the rest. And Proverbs give you the opportunity to make up your mind. Not all of them, not all the Proverbs, but majority part of the script in that proverb helps you to be able to make up your mind and explore the very knowledge of good and evil that this God of the Christians and the God of the Muslims are telling you not to explore. Because until you begin to know the repercussion of both evil and good, you will never be able to put your weight behind one particular way of life and one particular action. My name is Greatman Ayilara, and you can do well to join me on my YouTube channel, Greatman Ayilara on YouTube. Press the subscribe button and also the notification button. The more we are, the more freedom we share in the world. Remember that you are the light of the world, and you are the salt of the world. You are also the very word of life, and you are God in your own capacity. And don't forget to also share this. Namaste.